I loved living in New York after college. I loved everything about it. I loved the energy of the city. I loved the grit. I loved the homeless man that played the kazoo on the subway. I really loved my shoebox-size studio apartment in Chelsea where I lived by myself. And I even loved that New York City smell of street vendor pretzels and bus fumes. But there came a time when I was about 26 when I found myself in a relationship gone bad, very bad. You see, I didn't realize there was a tripwire buried under all those promises of love. And one day I accidentally stumbled on it, and it unleashed a rage and fury and manipulation that frankly terrified me. And I thought, for self-preservation, I had to get out of the minefield before I set off another explosion. I was young. I was a kid, really. I didn't think I had many options, but I made a plan. I was going to disappear before the end of an ordinary workday. I sublet my apartment and gave away my cat. A friend of mine said I could stay with her mom in the DC suburbs. The one thing I didn't have was a car. Now, I had a driver's license, I knew how to drive, but owning a car in New York City, well, that's a liability. Fortunately, I had a friend who knew someone who needed the cash and was willing to sell his car for $500 cash on the spot. So, on the day of my great escape, at around noon, I put the money in an envelope, put it in a backpack, and head down to kind of sketchy part of town where I was going to meet Lenny on Avenue B where the car was parked. "You must be Cindy's friend," he said. I nodded. And then he stepped back from the car. And there it was, a 1968 powder blue Ford Pinto station wagon. She got about 120K on her, but she runs pretty good, Lenny said. I nodded, starting to walk around the car. Then he said, "Oh, and by the way, the Pinto station wagon ain't the one that explodes. That's the Pinto hatchback." I nodded. I got around to the back and I realized there's no back window, just a piece of plastic with some duct tape on it. And Lenny kind of shrugged. I was tired of the punks just breaking in. Now, I looked at this jalopy and I wondered what on earth they were breaking in for, but I wanted to be city cool, so I said, okay. So do you want it, he said. Cindy said you needed the car right away, and I need the cash. I got somebody else interested in it. And then he took a step towards me, kind of aggressively, and he put his hand in his pocket and pulled out a piece of paper, the title, and a pen. So he signs it, I sign it, I hand him the cash, he hands me the keys. And just like that, I own my first car, a 1968 powder blue Ford Pinto station wagon, not the exploding kind. That's when Lenny said, "Oh, and by the way, Dominic's going to put the water pump in for you. He's got the part and everything." I hadn't even turned the car on. Well, how long is that going to take? I said, I got to be out of town by the end of the day. Lenny just shrugged and walked away, counting his money. So I take a deep breath, and I see the garage across the street, and I hurry over, and there's a guy working on cars, a big Italian guy named Dominic. And I talked to Dominic, and he said that he had the part, and it would take just about 2 hours to make the repair. "You're going to need to go to the DMV, lady. You don't have any plates." Well, I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't planned the time to go to the DMV of all places. Oh my gosh, but I figure, okay, 2 hours, I can get down to the DMV, I can get whatever I need so I can take the car out of state I head downtown. I'm standing in line. It takes about 2 hours. I get this flimsy piece of paper, a transit permit to take the car out of state, and I head back to the garage, where Dominic's already working on another car. And I say, great, is the car all fixed? And Dominic looked at me with disdain, and he said, lady, you took the keys with you. Like, who knew you needed keys to fix a water pump? I mean, the car was just still parked across the street where I left it, and now I am pretty frantic. It's like 2:30 in the afternoon, and I almost throw the keys at him, and I said, look, this has got to be fixed in 2 hours. And he looked at me and he said, okay, lady, I'll take care of yous. So I figure, okay, I can go home, and I can just pack and get everything ready to leave. I come up the subway at around 19th Street. Now it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm a little anxious. I mean, no one expects me to disappear in the middle of an absolutely ordinary workday, but still, I'm scanning the sidewalk. I see kids with their backpacks coming home from school. I pass the laundromat. I pass the Chinese fortune teller. I'm passing the police station right next to my apartment, and my hands are shaking when I'm trying to get the key in the lock. But I get it in, and then I'm running up those 3 flights of stairs to my studio apartment. And I am throwing things in suitcases and putting boxes in, books in boxes, and I'm putting things in plastic bags. And before I know it, I've got everything lined up by the door. 2 hours have passed, and I head back down to the garage. Well, Dominic must have taken pity on me, because not only was the water pump fixed, but he had checked the oil and put air in the tires. You're going to need tires in the winter, lady, he said, as I counted 520s into his hand. Next thing I know, I've turned the key in the car, and we're on our way back up to Chelsea. And I'm trying to figure out which street is in which direction. The traffic is getting a little worse because it's closer to 5. And, of course, I get to my neighborhood, and there's nowhere to park. And I think, oh, my God, just fuck it. And I park the car right in front of the police station in one of the police parking spots. And I am running up the stairs, and I am running down the stairs, and I am throwing suitcases and books into the back of the car, and I'm tucking things in, and everything fits. So it's just about 5:20 when I get in the car for the last time, and I take a cap and a baseball cap and pull it down over my eyes. I turn the engine on, and I start to head to the Lincoln Tunnel with all the commuters. And I realize the car's a bit of a disguise. No one I know would expect me to be driving through Midtown with a 1968 Ford Pinto station wagon full of stuff. The car's kind of a disguise. The traffic's sort of creeping along, and I feel like I may actually make this. I may get to my safe place in D.C. And finally, we funnel into the tunnel, in the dark of the tunnel, and I feel like the fear, like a cloak, just slips off my shoulders. And now the traffic is starting to move faster, and I feel like we're flying. And suddenly the car and I burst into the open air of Weehawken, New Jersey. And I am free.